And then also one thing in regards to the economy, something that even personally I've dealt with. Both houses on each side of me are vacant, bank
Right.
owned. What uh, what can you do in a neighborhood? What should you do as a neighbor or as somebody in a neighborhood with some vacant homes? Should we be like mowing their lawns or something, or should we tell the police department that a house is vacant so they can patrol it? What advice do you have for that? Because there's a lot of them in town.
Great question. There's a theory that's been out there for years. It's called the broken windows theory. And George Kelling was the individual who studied the broken windows theory. The premise of the broken windows theory is that communities that allow neighborhoods to fall into a state of disarray or blight invites crime. Um, the scenario that he portrays is a commercial establishment that has a broken window and it doesn't get addressed, and then the next day there's another broken window, and the next day there's another broken window, and all of a sudden it falls into a state of disrepair where it invites crime. It contributes to the malaise of a community. It contributes to a belief of no one cares. It adds to the fear. There may not be crime. There may not be crime in that community, but there's the appearance that crime thrives in that community because of this broken windows theory. So, I think if there's a resident who has a vacant property on their street, it would be wise for them to make it look inhabited, water the lawn if possible, mow the grass if possible, wipe the cobwebs off if possible. Because if it looks lived in, it looks less inviting for crime, and it doesn't breed a criminal environment, a criminal element, if you will. So, and I do think if a citizen does see a home that's vacant and there are squatters or it becomes graffiti, riddled with graffiti, those kinds of things, and they need to contact the police department. They need to contact the neighborhood preservation unit of the code enforcement section of the city, and we can do things. But I think first and foremost is do not let it get to that point. Make it look inhabited. Make it look lived in. Mow and edge the lawn. Pull the weeds. Put some weed killer on the weeds that are popping up in the cracks of the sidewalk, those kinds of things. Wash the windows, get the cobwebs down. Don't make it look as if it's uninhabited. Make it look as if it's inhabited. And in that way, it makes a community thrive. It makes it look inviting. It makes it look warm. And then crime doesn't have an opportunity to breed itself. So absolutely, great question. And my own personal testimonial is I had a vacant property on my street, and I would take my lawnmower down on Saturday morning and I'd mow the grass because of it. I mean, it just you feel good about a neighborhood where it looks lived in, and it frustrates me sometimes when I see people purchase a home and then take no pride in ownership. Don't mow the grass, let it die. Don't put on paint. Those kinds of things. And so we our biggest investment in our entire life will be our home, right? In most instances. And so, why not take the pride of ownership and take great pride in it, and take great pride in how your community, your neighborhood looks. Pick some weeds, put some weed killer on weeds, whatever the case may be. But I do know that there's a direct correlation between crime and how it breeds itself, the fear of crime, and the appearance of a neighborhood. So we clean up the appearance of a neighborhood, it looks less inviting. And that person who quite frankly wants to look for an opportunity to commit crime is going to be less inclined to commit crime in an area that looks as if it's thriving. People are out front enjoying themselves. They tend to rather than everybody isolate themselves in the backyard, they come out front and visit with their neighbors, and they know who their neighbors are, and they know what cars are supposed to show up, and they know aunts and uncles' cars, and they know when a foreign car shows up and how that doesn't look right, and boy, I just saw that guy go in the backyard, and no one should be going in the backyard, those kinds of things. So absolutely, a neighborhood thrives when it looks warm and inviting, and it breeds crime when it doesn't.
Good. And I think last question here. Yourself. We've talked about where you see Modesto in 10 years and such. Where do you see yourself? Is this like a fulfillment of a dream here, or do you see yourself going on to other things someday, or where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Well, I must say that I didn't start out on this journey 26 years ago thinking I would be a police chief. Of course, at 21 years old, my goal was to get hired as a police officer, do the fun things that police officers get to do. No 2 days are alike, and I certainly didn't see myself as a police chief. But then 4 or 5, 6 years go down the road, and you get promoted to sergeant. Then 4 or 5 years you go down the road, and you get promoted to lieutenant. Then you start to see yourself in a different place, and then rather than running a team of officers, you run a platoon of officers, and then rather than running a platoon of officers, you run a division of officers. And so, naturally I went up the chain, if you will, and this is an opportunity of a lifetime because it's a department that I absolutely adore. I will retire from the Modesto Police Department. I will not seek employment somewhere else. I don't have any aspirations to move on to a larger department. This is my home. I want what's best for this city and for this police department and this community, and I'll always work in that regard to see what's best. We can try to protect the citizens to the greatest extent that we can. I have absolutely no desire to move on to another law enforcement agency. This is the one that I will retire at after a long-lasting career. And when my work's done, I'll retire, but that's many, many, many years down the road.
All right. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add, or I think you've said a lot?
I just appreciate the opportunity to get the message out, and I just want everyone to know who sees this that the Modesto Police Department is committed to wanting to make our community safer, stronger, and better. And we need your help in doing that, and we're looking forward to the opportunity to work together. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you.